I'm making this video because I genuinely do not like most Psylocke guides out there. Most Psylocke guides out there spend like 75% of the video talking about how her base kit works and not really talking about how to actually apply her kit in game. Like, imagine watching a video on how to bake a cake, right? But a good duration of the video is a dude just shopping for ingredients, and then they actually bake the cake in the last 2 minutes. Because of these videos, I decided to make a guide that focuses more on the game sense side of Psylocke. If you don't find this guide useful, that's fine. I made and edited this video in a way that I would enjoy if I were to watch a Psylocke guide video. Now that all of that is out of the way, let's get into how to play Psylocke by starting off with her kit. I know I just complain about videos that only focus on her kit, but I promise you that this section is going to be short, and I've provided timestamps in the description so you can go to a section that you are actually interested in. Also, this guide was made near the end of Season 2.5, so some things in this guide may not be applicable in the future. I'm not going to talk about specific numbers and stats when I'm talking about everything about her base kit. However, I will leave some text up for you nerds out there that do care about that. But anyway, her primary fire is shot from her psionic crossbow. It works like a traditional video game shotgun in the sense that multiple projectiles are fired per shot, and damage falloff starts at medium range. A very important thing to note is that her primary fire reduces the cooldowns of all of her abilities based on hits. Her Psyblade dash is your typical straight line dash that does damage if you pass through enemies. You have a maximum capacity of 2 dashes, and there's no cooldown between these 2 dashes, so you can double dash if you wanted to. Her Psychic Stealth causes you to go invisible for a small amount of time and boosts her movement speed. You'll remain invisible unless your invisible duration runs out, or you use any other ability during it. You can also manually cancel your invisibility by pressing the same button again, and you are technically visible during invisibility, although for a short period of time, if you get hit by any form of damage. Psylocke's wing shurikens are an alternate form of damage that allows you to throw a projectile that can be recalled. This means that you can press the same button or a dash to deal a second wave of damage, even if you missed your first throw or if it is onto a different target. Not only that, these wing shurikens allow you to regain some bonus health if you land a hit on any enemy. Psylocke's last ability is her ultimate, Dance of the Butterfly. This ultimate basically makes Psylocke become invulnerable and damage enemies in a large circle. In this large circle, Psylocke basically slashes enemies with her katana while cycling between targets. You can also manually cancel her ultimate. I'm going to be completely honest. Psylocke's best combos are extremely easy. I literally don't get why people make YouTube shorts in different ways to make Psylocke look like a Mortal Kombat character. The problem with these complicated combos is that they use too many cooldowns for a combo that provides the same value as a simple one. The 2 most basic combos you should know about are Primary Fire, then Wing Shurikens, then Recall, and Primary Fire, then Wing Shurikens, then Dash. These combos work because the Wing Shurikens animation cancel the Primary Fire, and they do great damage, even at mid-range. You should generally use the Recall combo when you are damaging someone in a grouped fight, since there's a chance that your target won't die from the Dash combo, and you are effectively down 1 dash in the middle of the enemy team if you use that combo. However, you should use the Dash combo when fighting an isolated fight. For example, if you're 1v1ing a Hela, the dash combo will not only do great damage to the Hela, but Hela has to process the fact that you essentially repositioned and then repositioned their crosshair onto you. Another thing about Psylocke is that you can melee weave after her primary fire, but you shouldn't be getting in specifically just to melee weave. You should only realistically melee weave if you're already kissing someone on the lips. Even then, Psylocke is more than just combos. All of her kit is extremely complicated, and the rest of the video will teach you how to properly integrate her kit with your game sense. In this section, we'll talk about what characters Psylocke counters and what characters counter Psylocke. Generally speaking, Psylocke is at least decent against all of the entire roster. However, she mainly counters larger hitbox characters with slower movement and a lower health pool. For example, you are an amazing counter to Punisher. Now, here comes the fun part. Psylocke isn't really hard countered by anything. The biggest counter that I can think of is Loki, since his clones and runes effectively counter her ult. One of the best parts of Psylocke is that she can effectively escape from fights, which means that most fights against other DPS is a skill matchup. If you lose a fight against a Bucky or Star-Lord, it is generally a skill issue most of the time. Obviously, there's more factors since it is a team game, such as cooldowns available at a time, people alive per team, and if heals are being delivered to you. However, you should realize that Psylocke's biggest weakness is when she is being focused without any of her mobility cooldowns active. Some people also might say no more counter Psylocke, but please stop bitching. Just shoot the squids and move on with your life. Before we talk about her game plan, we should honestly talk about when to use her dashes and invisibility. There are 2 main uses for her dash: to reposition quickly and to secure kills. There are 3 main uses for her invisibility: to start an engagement, use the movement boost to cover short distances faster, and an escape tool to use as a last-ditch effort. You never want to truly engage with the dashes because just using even one makes you an easier target when you want to disengage. You also never want to truly leave fights by using your invisibility because dashes are just better than invisibility for leaving fights. Having 1 or 2 bursts of distance is more consistent for escaping rather than possibly getting lasered during your invisibility. The way I like to think about Psylocke is that there are 2 phases of her. I like to think of the first phase as the ability phase and the second phase as the cooldown phase. Let's talk about the ability phase first. This phase occurs when you are ready to do a lot of pressure on their enemy backline. You should ideally commit to this phase when both teams are actually fighting. By actually fighting, I'm not talking about when people are just poking each other with pool noodles. I'm talking about when tanks are actively fighting each other. When both tanks are actively fighting each other, it means both teams are also actively engaged with each other. You can either pre-position yourself to be close to the backline, or you can use your invisibility to get up and close. When you finally get close and personal, do whatever combo is needed. When people finally turn to look at you, you should use a dash or 2 to get back to your team and get healed. When you finally connect back to your team, you are in the cooldown phase. During this phase, your main goal is to provide some sort of frontline pressure while you are shooting for ult charge and reducing your cooldown time. If needed, you can also get into an off angle and create a different angle of pressure. A good Psylocke will cycle between these phases depending on what is needed at the moment. Most of the time, you'll spend around 50% of your time in each of these phases in a normal balanced composition. However, a really specific example that would change this would be something like 2 dive tanks and a pure dive DPS like Panther as teammates. In this type of comp, the Psylocke can still go for backline plays, but she should spend more time protecting her backline and pressuring the frontline more than usual. Another thing to add is that these phases are general guidelines on how you can play. If you can effectively stay in the ability phase without the enemy team peeling for you, you can just play in their backline even if you have no abilities ready. One final thing I need to bring up is that the higher rank you go, the harder it is for you to just completely kill a squishy during a team fight when you're the only one diving. I see a lot of bad Psylocks completely bot for a pick and then die when the enemies peel for the target. You should realize that wasting resources of the enemy team and drawing attention of the other enemies is good enough. During this period of time, your frontline can easily capitalize off your impact and potentially get a kill themselves. A lot of people think that her ult is subpar, but you can definitely help win teamfights with it. The 2 biggest counters to Psylocke's ult is Loki and patty caking. We already went over why Loki counters Psylocke's ult, but I'll briefly explain what patty caking is for people that don't know what it is. There is probably an actual term for it, but patty caking is just basically support players constantly sustaining each other throughout an ult. For Loki runes, just try your best to force them out before your ult, or note when Loki is dead. There are also 2 things you need to consider before ulting. First, you need to note the amount of enemies and how healthy they are. Psylocke's ult is unique in the sense that it is more likely to kill the fewer people there are in it. However, low health enemies allow your ult to get possible multi-kills. Second, you need to ult in the middle of the enemies so it's harder for your enemies to escape your circle. If needed, you can manually cancel your ult to chase down enemies that are outside of your circle. Now, the best way to use your Psylocke ult is to use it during massive team fights. Even if the enemy supports are patty caking, they are forced to heal each other while your team walks down to other enemies. The higher you climb, the harder it will be for you to just randomly ult the enemy's backline and get away with it. Another extremely niche thing about her ultimate is that you can use it to become invulnerable. So if you think you're going to die in the middle of a team fight, you can pop it as long as you don't die as it's starting up.
I'm insane! I'm insane, bro! Oh my gosh!
The reason why I put the team up with Emma Frost super late into the video is that her team up doesn't really change the way how Psylocke plays. It literally just makes Psylocke better at what she does, assassinating and getting out of fights. If you don't know what this team up does, it makes Psylocke invisible when you activate it. After the invisibility dissipates, Psylocke gets a clone that mirrors every single move that you do except for your ult. I'm going to briefly list out when you should just use your team up. 1. Going for an assassination on an enemy. 2. Using it to confuse your enemy when you're hurt. I personally wouldn't use the team up whenever I'm ulting because the clone is better used for the previous reasons since it is a 30-second cooldown and it doesn't even provide that much damage by itself anyways. I also wouldn't use it behind large pieces of cover since there's a chance your clone just shoots at nothing. Okay, so basically I'm going to be doing an analysis of my own gameplay. Just, to basically show what I mean in a more, analytical way. So I don't have a script for this, so there's gonna be a lot of ums and buts, but basically we just want a team fight, right? And so right now I want to get set up for the next team fight, and so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play really close to I want to get set up to be really close to their backline when they do push. And so right here, it's not bad to use your invisibility to set you up for backline pressure, but if you have the option to just, you know, have your position just be really close, it's better to do it like this, so you could use your invisibility for a different reason. And so right here, I'm just chilling, right? I only see the tanks walking forward. Luna ults, so I tried to catch someone off guard that's not in the Luna ult. I managed to kill Invis right now, right? And then right here, since it's Luna ult, I'm very unlikely to kill things, so I'm just trying my best to play my life here. If I am going to do damage, it's most likely going to be on large clusters of enemies or tanks, since it's going to be easier to land damage, therefore I can get more ult charge. So right now, I'm literally just doing what I'm saying right there. Luna, or not Luna ults, Wanda ult gets stuffed, I pop Invis, try to force a pick onto Luna right there. Luna right here, right? Look at Luna's cam, right? Even though I didn't really commit the full assassination, look how much attention I brought away from her healing her entire team just to focus me. Not saying she did the bad play here, but this is what happens when you pressure as a diver. You have to respect, well, as a support player getting dived, you have to respect the diver. So basically that's what happens right there. Right now I'm just going up for cleanup crew stuff, right? I'm in the middle of Invis ult, so I try my best to get out of it. I noticed that I have ult coming up, and I see 3 people here, and so I just pop ult. I just want to get this done as fast as possible, and this is pretty much it. There's nothing too complicated about it. Yeah. That's pretty much it for my Psylocke guide as a Peak Celestial 1 player. I hope you guys enjoyed this style of guide, since I felt like most guides were missing the game sense part. If you guys want me to make a different guide, I'll definitely make another one, but I'll be selfish in the sense that I'll be choosing the character for it. I'll also make a part 2 of this Psylocke guide specifically if I realize that I've missed a lot of things to talk about. One more quick thing to bring up before this video ends, my friend Plyfofun recently made a Rivals guide on layering. It's an extremely important topic because layering is essentially how different ults interact with each other during team fights. However, there is barely anything on YouTube that talks about it. As far as I can tell, he is the first person to make a video on layering. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video.